we've got the knife just about done. The only thing we have left to do is to sharpen it. Now, this is arguably the most important part of making a knife, because what is a knife for except to cut? And if it's not sharpened well, then everything else is pointless. So I like to use a Lansky. They're inexpensive and they work. They're slower than some of the other jigs you can buy, but they work nonetheless. If you can see here, I've put a little bit of tape on my blade where I clamp it on. I don't want to scratch that nice finish I've just put on there. So I've put that tape down and then clamp the jig on, and then I've put it in my bench vise. I told you it's a pretty handy thing to have. And I like to put a 20-degree edge, which is this second hole from the bottom. And I found that to be extremely sharp and yet still durable. And because we have a full flat on not thin but not thick stock, 1/8 of an inch, it easily sets us up for a 20-degree edge that looks nice and clean and isn't super fat. And if we used thicker stock or only a partial full grind instead of full flat, then our main bevels would approach 20 degrees and it wouldn't really work. So here's the stones that they come with. You just slot it through the slot for whatever angle you want. Now, I don't know how much this affects, but I always push this up because you see it kind of wobbles. I push it up so I always have it constant. I'm not changing my angle slightly. So I always hold that up. Now, the way I'll start is I'll take my coarse stone. I recommend the basic kit that comes with coarse, medium, and fine. I don't like using extra coarse, and I don't like using extra fine, and I'll tell you why when we get there. So I'll take my coarse stone and I'll just go back and forth like this, maybe 3 times like that. Then I'll loosen my vise, flip it over, retighten it, do the same thing. Now, after I do that twice, I'll come back here, and every time I check it, I'll run my finger like this. What I'm feeling for is a burr. When we do the other side, or if we did this side, it would push a burr down, and then when we flip it over, then you can feel it, especially on the coarse. It's very, very distinct. Now, there's a lot of, hoodoo mumbo jumbo out there about sharpening, but the way I understand it is the only thing that matters in sharpening is the burr. The burr is what is sharpening, and so that's what you want to focus on. A long burr like you get on that coarse stone can cut, but it's going to roll over, and then you're going to have a dull, it's going to contact a dull part of your edge. And so we want to work that burr down, and so we're going to be pushing it back and forth until it breaks down. And so once I get a burr, I'll go to my medium stone and I'll put it in, and I'll very slowly, there, that's 1 stroke, and I'll do 7 strokes. Now, you don't have to go fast. You can go as slow as you want to, and it won't make one bit of difference. The only difference it will make is if you go really fast, then you're just going to increase your chances of messing up. You always want to push up. You're going to want to go like this, because on a bench stone, you want one even swipe. But on this, you want it up, and that's just going to give a sharper edge. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I'll tell you right here, I'm not a guru. I'm not a master at sharpening. This is just what I know. This is usually the pace that I go at. So it's 4, 5, 6, 7. Now once I get into counting the sides, I won't tighten this. I'm holding it with my left hand. There, 7. Now I'll do the same thing, but I'll do 6. Now if you have ADD like I do, you might sometimes find yourself inadvertently counting to 7 or 8 or 10, in which case do the same number on the other side and just start working down again. It's not a huge deal. I think that's 3, 4. I always count out loud. That helps me. And sometimes I still lose track. Like my mind is somewhere else. So now I'll do 5. Now as I get down to doing fewer and fewer strokes, I'm going to put lighter and lighter pressure. Because we've already got the edge probably worked to our grit. We're just working that burr back and forth. And the heavier we do it, the longer that burr is going to stay. So now I'll do 4. The reason I don't like using the extra fine is because it doesn't abrade the edge. The coarse, medium, and fine, they abrade the edge. And the extra fine polishes the edge. And there's just something I'm not doing right, and it seems to ruin my edge. And in my opinion, if you want to polish the edge, strop it with leather. Don't use a stone. You can, I'm just not good at it, so I don't. Now, on a bench stone, you'll alternate probably every stroke or every other stroke, which is probably a better way of doing it, but with this lansky, that's a little impractical, and so that's why I do the descending strokes. And you're just working that burr down. So I'll do that with the medium, and then when I just did more than 2, didn't I? So I'll do the medium, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then I'll take the fine, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1. And then I got myself an Arkansas surgical black, which is what this one is. I've already done my medium and fine, my coarse, medium, and fine off camera. And so this is our black hard Arkansas stone, which I like because I feel like it abrades the edge, but very, very finely. Now, if you want just good measure, you can keep working that burr down and just flip it over every time. And you're just refining that burr. The grit on your actual edge, it does matter when you're cutting. The coarser it is, the more drag it's going to have on whenever you're cutting. But it's the very, very, where that edge terminates on the burr, that is actually what is sharp. Now, at this point I'm using just the weight of the stone. And throughout the whole process, you want to be careful you complete your stroke all the way to the tip without falling off and rounding off your tip. pay attention to the way I'm holding this. I don't want it to fall. I'll most likely break the tip, hit the edge, put a dent in my wood. So I'm using my thumb to hold it down, and then I'm coming and grabbing it. So I'm holding it at all times. Put my thumb back, bring it over. I have dropped quite a few knives in this jig. Also, be very careful. When I'm switching stones, I will clamp it, then I'll get up. Be very careful you don't turn around, cut your finger, walk into it, stab yourself. You may laugh, but I've done all of those things. So now, if you haven't cleaned your blade off after the fine like I did, you'll have quite a bit of grit. And even if you do wipe it in between, wipe it off again, because we don't want any of that grit to get into our leather. Now I've got Lansky's leather hone, and you can freehand it, but I just prefer to know that I have that right angle, that correct angle. And it was inexpensive. I think it was about $7. I'm not pitching a commercial for Lansky. It's just what I use because it works and it's affordable. And that's all that really matters. So, just very, very lightweight. We're just stropping that burr, refining it even more. Polishing our edge a little bit. I did put a little bit of white rouge on my leather. There's a whole bunch of different pastes that you can buy with different grits, and using those different grits you can bring your edge up to 2,000, 6,000, 30,000, however fine you want to bring it. I just strop with use the black Arkansas and strop with the leather. And then that puts a pretty decent edge on. And I could get it sharper, but come on, I've got to try and do this for a living. I can't spend all day sharpening one knife. It already takes me a long time just to sharpen one. I personally cringe when I see people do it on a belt sander. I have no doubt that it's possible. I just think it's too fast. It takes too much material off. Also be careful when you're flipping your knife. Pay attention to where this is going. You don't bang it against the corner of your vise here. That would leave a nasty mark. So hopefully that's sharp now. Should be able to pop that hair right off. Slice through the paper.